All right, I want to call this meeting of the Simpson County Fiscal Court to order. I want to ask Magistrate Nathaniel Downey if he'd lead us in a word of prayer, and we'll follow that with the pledge to the flag.
Let me bow our heads, close our eyes. Heavenly Father, thank you for last night's laying down and early morning rising, Lord. Enabling us to see another day. Lord, continue to bless this fiscal court, Lord. Please allow us to be able to continue to make the rightful decisions for our community, Lord, that's best at hand. Lord, please continue to bless the victims of the virus, Lord, all the ones that got the virus, and bless the family members and the friends that knows who has this virus, Lord. To let us be able to continue to get a hold of this thing, Lord. Lord, please bless all of our residents in our community here in a very special manner, Lord. Continue to bless the first responders across the board, Lord. Continue them to do a wonderful job in which they are doing, Lord, to make situations better. Lord, please continue to thank you for having a roof over our heads, Lord, each and every day, and food on our tables to eat, and clothes upon our backs, Lord. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Gentlemen, if y'all had an opportunity to review the minutes of the July 21st regular fiscal court meeting, we just need a motion and a second to approve those minutes. Got a motion by Nate, a second by Marty. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next is to review first reading of fiscal year 2021 budget amendment ordinance number 220.216. Now, I know it seems like we've just been in this fiscal year a month. We've got a budget amendment, but this one's on the good side. This is to be able to amend in revenue from the CARES Act money, roughly $630-some thousand, and then a sheriff's manpower grant of roughly $250,000, I think. We don't have either one of those monies in hand, but we've got to amend the budget so that when they arrive, we have a place for them to go. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Good what? And obviously the CARES money, we're not getting all at one time either. We have to send in documentation and reimbursement forms. We've got the first reimbursement form in, and Nicole might know that number specifically, but it's 311 or 320, something like that, thousand of the first round of reimbursement. We don't have any indication of when that money will arrive, but we have to have a place for it to go in the budget, and they both have to go in like a federal grant coding, and then it'll be a cash transfer back out to the general fund once it goes in.
On the, this is the first time I've heard of the manpower for the sheriff. Is that for new deputies or? I mean, I'm fine with it,
The sheriff can explain that a lot better than I can.
Yeah, B5 was really good music.
Right.
Hard work there. This is not doing extra things for the sheriff's office. Dave Freeman, I've had working literally for 3 years on trying to get a job. We won't necessarily get $250,000. That is up to $250,000. We had already programmed. Remember, when I tell you I try to think long term, don't let a news article go, they're hiring a new officer. I'd already programmed those 2 officers into our budget. Remember, we're starting somebody at the school, we had to have a replacement. Remember the guys going to the academies? That was our 2 new hires. We'd already had them on board, and that's not additional people, it was basically filling in some spots in the past. What the comp grant does is a 3-year grant that will reimburse us the cost of those 2 officers. The same 2 officers that were already in our budget to pay for. So that's a good thing. What does it cost in Simpson County? It's not. It's saving a whole lot of money for Simpson County is what that's going to do. like I said, it's spread out over 3 years. Basically, we pay 25% of their salary. We're gonna get reimbursed 75% of the money that we would have been paying anyway, for those two positions. So that's a good thing.
The reason I asked is because I didn't know if it could do what you were saying, cover officers that you already had hired, or if you're gonna have to hire new additional officers, and then at the end of 3 years, then we're gonna have to pay that. That's the reason I was asking.
I have to be careful about the way I pronunciate this, because there's certain rules involved in the cost grant. The officers that were hired for the cost grant are already at the sheriff's office, so to speak. One of those I projected, we're gonna have to hire him one way or another. When we did the grant, those two officers weren't at our exit, and the grant does say we have to hire 2 officers that we didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
One, we were hiring, he's going to work the road for the cost grant, but he's replacing an officer that's working the road that's going to the school. So that's one of them. The other one, I projected we needed to get one in the academy, and we had figured out who we wanted to keep going to the academy, but obviously the COVID screwed the academy up for a while. That was our 2, we're not going out and hiring 2 more people now.
There's not 2 additional unplanned positions.
The only bad thing, and it's not a bad thing, it's not, I have to, be able to outfit the officers. I won't need to ask for any more money from the fiscal court to do anything. There may be something, and it's not really time to talk about it now, that in the future I might approach and say, I need to line item a little bit of money this year from one category to another to outfit these guys. But what will happen over the course of 3 years, $170,000 will come in the good by doing that. There'll be no additional money asked off this report, it's just gonna say. Any other questions about that? This is interesting, or what is it?
Oh, I agree.
And Nicole could probably answer this better than I can, but my understanding is, like, if we were to receive, let's say today, we got that first CARES reimbursement money check, we've got nowhere to put it because we don't have it, we don't have a line item in the budget to appropriate that revenue.
Yeah, and that's what amendment is, you make an amendment with no new money coming in, and it's basically in anticipation of that money. And we've already got, we have an MOA that states the $630,000, just by running the numbers on the first reimbursement, we're not gonna have any problem getting that reimbursement, and it's plus the cost grant, we've already got the work for all of that.
So we just have to have a motion, you'll have to have a motion and a second and a roll call vote for a budget or for an ordinance. Got a motion by Marty, second by Scott, and we'll have a roll call vote on the ordinance.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Scott Wilson,
Yes.
Nathaniel Manning,
Yes.
Myron Herman,
Yes.
Nathan Barnes,
Yes. All right, gentlemen, if y'all recall, last meeting, we discussed some planning and zoning regs, and Carter asked that we, change some language to accommodate some things that would better suit, planning and zoning for dealing with, like codes violations and such as that. So we put together, this amendment here. Looks like it's section 1.9.8, but if you had an opportunity to review that, and Carter, I see him sitting out there if anyone has a question, but we would need to have first reading of ordinance number 920.113 that's amending the zoning regulations. Got a motion by Nate. Second by Myron. Is there any question or discussion? Does anyone need Carter to give any kind of explanation or clarity to this?
I do.
Carter?
I was reading over it. It looks as though this is dealing mainly with the appearance of the property, the weeds and no junk vehicles and all that. And will this address the issues you were talking to Sam about with the slaughtering of animals in the subdivision over there? I just don't know how that reads.
I don't mean not funny, but.
Well, I mean, that's
Yeah,
something else.
it's
I
real.
didn't know we're not reading here, so.
It will not address that,
Okay.
okay? The nuisance is listed in the original ordinance in part five. Does not exist in the rendering, per se. The thing you're gonna get into that, say chickens, dogs, cats. Sometimes, there's one here,
Mm-hmm.
and they might render a deer, shot in their backyard, and they live tomorrow or not. There's some farm, yeah. So if you want to try to do something in there, I'll let it alone. I personally won't try to just get that issue, but it's, yeah, it's not, I don't know if we were trying to address that or what.
Okay, that's fine. I don't think you're gonna run into a lot anyway, so, I mean,
I hope not.
right.
If it does, we'll reconsider.
Okay.
Yeah. We did have a motion in a second, didn't we?
Carter,
Yeah.
Carter,
Any other?
just for public information, you mind going over that ordinance? Just. So the code.
The part that I wrote here?
Yeah.
But I'll read it, I've got it right in front of me. No yard or lot existing at the time of passage of these zoning regulations located in the following zones: AG, RV, R1, R2, T3, or R5, and consisting of less than 10 acres with its primary use designated as residential shall be exempt from the Property Maintenance Code's Ordinance 1010.5. Furthermore, any properties that have been allowed a conditional use permit in either an AG or RV zone listed for an allowed residential use shall not be exempt from the Property Maintenance Code Ordinance 1015.5. I think that should be 1010.5. I think there is a typo right there. The second one, would you, are y'all good with your motion amending that 1015.5 to 1010.5? That should read that in the second one also. This regulation hereby prohibits the use of unsafe structures as dwellings, the accumulation of junk vehicles and appliances, tall weeds or grass, fixtures or rubbish, and other general property conditions deemed to be a public nuisance as outlined in the Property Maintenance Code Ordinance 1010.5, paragraphs A through I. Any properties deemed to be in violation shall be subject to the rights, regulations, authority, and penalties set forth as part of the Property Maintenance Code's Ordinance 1010.5. Basically, it's just a protection of residential areas outside the city limits of Franklin.
If I might add, in the review of this ordinance, too, it took some time, though, this ordinance hammered out, done. But I'd like to throw it out there, consideration, to adjust the fines. First offense, $25, second offense, $50. A little weak, in my opinion.
You're talking about in the Property Maintenance Code's ordinance.
I think it's time it's back and forth, it's probably broken. But, if we've got to go mow somebody's yard, $25, they're gonna hire the county to mow it, and pay $25 fee. My opinion.
Why don't you get a copy of those fines? Bring back to us so we can look at it.
Yeah, just bring us a comparative list of where we're at now and where, what you would propose, where you think we should be.
I know we got into this at times, too, with the court, having the host and lodge, and everybody, I'm, it goes in very much the time to do it, so.
Yeah.
Anything else, Bill?
Thank you, Carter.
Any other questions? If none, Pam, we're ready for a roll call on this ordinance.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right, gentlemen, one more go with this one. The SRO MOU we're notified, and I'll let Sam speak to this and one part of it, and the sheriff can speak to the other part. Basically, this agreement we have before us is identical to the one I think that we adopted or passed a few meetings back, with one exception. The one we passed noted a specific tax rate, which I have learned, or been told anyway, that it's illegal to actually have an exact tax rate in your agreement, because that number has got to be based on actual cost, not just a percentage rate. So, am I representing that correctly, Sam?
1 year, it might be that might be the year that you enact this, and next year it might be a little bit more than that, or a little bit less than that. So, all is pretty unambiguous. Basically, you can't agree to an amount, it has to be whatever the cost is to collect the tax.
And so basically the position of the school board was they couldn't agree to an agreement that had an illegal clause in it. So if we want to proceed with this for this school year and running through December 31 of 2021, we would have to have a motion in a second to enter this
You
agreement.
still got that in there about reverting back to 2011.
Yeah, but it'll never happen.
I mean, I can't believe the city would agree with this here.
But I mean, that's the thing, they're the ones on the hook, I mean, they're in a worse position than we are.
Yeah.
They've already passed it.
Yeah, but they passed it with this new language with the percentage rate out?
That's the correct reason.
Okay.
I mean, we're gonna be out $10,000.
Yeah, that's
If
what
it
I
reverts back to
yeah.
2011.
But understand, gentlemen, this agreement will not revert back to that. I mean, because going forward, hopefully, we're gonna be in a position that the sheriff's department will provide the SRO, and we'll have to literally put a completely new agreement together.
I talked to the city attorney, and I just mentioned a second ago, and there's going to be, my guess is, in less than a year, there's going to start negotiations.
Yeah.
On a completely new agreement because of
You have to.
the pile of money on, and what was, seemed like a good idea before 10 years ago is not the same as it is now, and there's going to have to be something new, and it's going to have to be between the school board and city and us, and, yeah.
But to Marty's point, in the unlikely event that we don't get a new agreement hammered out, and everybody just throws up their hands and says, well, okay, we'll go back to the old one, we're in at 10 grand and we're done. So the city's the one that's really would be on the hook for the biggest side of this if we don't get a new agreement worked out. We're just trying to get something that makes the school board happy for right now, and they couldn't agree to having that percentage rate left in the contract. All right, so motion by Marty, second by Meyer, and any other question or discussion? And that, Marty, your motion, you'll amend that to authorize the judge to sign? Yeah. Okay. And you're good with that, Meyer?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? All right. All right, next is, I think we've changed over, here at the courthouse, at the fire department, and the sheriff's department has looked at, this Jive communication proposal. The thing about this phone system that gives us an ability to do something we've never been able to do, if someone calls here and they're needing the sheriff's department, rather than us having to go through, well, take down this number and you call this number, we just go, okay, put you on hold, put you right through the sheriff's department. And I think, not that it's huge, but I think there's about a $10 or $20 a month savings on this. Right, so it's $200 a year or something that it saves. Get all new phone system, phone equipment. and the interoperability of communicating from department to department without actually having to make phone calls.
Is the equipment at no cost?
No cost for the equipment.
I think it's a good deal. So much.
That's about as cheap as you can get it, Myron.
It is.
So, we got a motion by Myron.
Sorry to disappoint, Myron, the chief is in.
Got a motion by Myron and a second by Scott. Any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor, aye? No. Aye. Any opposed? Pam, do I need to say motion carries, or do you kind of get that when you hear all ayes and no nays? Okay.
Probably just for the sake of the public, we probably ought to say motion carries.
All right. So next, we have some, boards that we need approval on. The cemetery board we'll deal with first, and Counselor, can we approve these as a slate, or do we need to do these individually?
I think we can approve the slate at each board. You can't, you might have
A
to.
separate motion for each board, but the board members can be
Correct.
as,
You can
okay.
say we're appointing X, Y, and Z to the cemetery board terms as follows.
So before we make this motion and appoint cemetery board members, we do need to have a quick discussion here, because there is a cemetery ordinance in place that the county put in place some years ago. That board is kind of defunct in the fact that I think 2 or 3 of the board members have passed, and they just haven't met in years. But we do have a group that wanted to get this back together and see if there were grant monies, because you actually have to have a functioning board in order to receive some of this grant money to fix some of these cemetery places. And so we have some people that are interested in doing that. But here's the question at hand. The prior ordinance gave no time frame on serving on the board. It was basically like you're appointed until you ask to be removed for life. Of course, we have a fiscal court member who would actually serve during their term in office, whatever that could be. But the question is, do we want to put a time frame on this, or do we want to allow these people who are willing to serve as long as they're willing to serve?
Good question.
Yeah, and right, and Pam is right. Looking back through the KRS, it gives us the ability to establish a cemetery board. It gives no mention of putting a time frame on board member, service. And I can tell you, there were a few people that were interested in this.
Are they lined up at the door?
No, there wasn't people beating down the door to want to
It'd be
jump.
like any other board.
No, there was not people beating down the door. In fact, one of these board members is probably going to cause me trouble.
So we mean it's like every other board, right?
No, this one will be worse.
Well, I think if they're gonna be, applying for grants, and then, I see no problem doing like any other board, you know, 4-year time or something, even though they can,
We could reappoint them.
yeah, they can be reappointed, but if one of them, you know, didn't participate in doing anything, they're just stuck on there, and then you got the ability every 4 years for somebody else to step up if they want to, you know, it's.
Do we want to stagger then, have like 2 4-year appointments and 2 5-year appointments? Of course, the magistrate will be appointed during term of service. So you've got 4 other at-large members. You could do 2 at 4 years and 2 at 5 years.
Well, they got a good idea.
And I mean, obviously, we could reappoint them.
Yeah.
Okay. Do what now? Okay, so what we're gonna appoint, 5 members to the cemetery board. We will appoint 2 members to a 5-year term, 2 members to a 4-year term, and then the fiscal court member for the term of their time in office. So back, Counselor, to the question, we probably, on this cemetery board, we probably need to make 3 motions. 1 to appoint 2 4-year members, 1 to appoint 2 5-year members, and 1 to appoint fiscal court members.
I don't think you need to appoint, I think it's like any other board, I think you can appoint.
Just state the time and appoint them all together?
No, I'm just, no. I don't think,
In most of the time, in the past, if it's all on one paper, I just note that in the motion, that is for a previous term or.
well, I guess I don't necessarily have to have a motion to appoint them next year. I think you can just say,
We didn't do it on the other one.
on the other boards. And so you just say, you know, Scott or Nate or Marty or Myron, whoever, it's like you're going to be on, you won't be on that board, like, you know, in the building committee or the insurance, the other committee,
Okay,
or the other board, that's fair board.
all right, very good.
We have to determine who's gonna be on the 4 and who's gonna be on 5.
Marty done y'all a big favor and volunteered.
Yeah, I volunteered.
Yeah.
No, I'm just asking, if you're gonna do the 4 and the 5, you're gonna have to determine who's on the 4 and who's on the 5.
Yeah, the first 2 names on this list.
Well, I actually, the KRS is a little more complicated than that, so I will split this up. Your members, you can have more than 3 members from one political party. Now, I don't understand what's necessarily political about a cemetery board, but that's the way KRS reads. So my thoughts was that we would appoint 2 of these, the 2 Democrat members, 1 to a 5-year, 1 to a 4-year, and 2 Republican members, 1 to a 5-year, 1 to a 4-year. And if you keep two Democrats on and 2 Republicans on, then it doesn't matter which magistrate serves, because you're never gonna have more than 3. Yeah, don't ask me why, but now that is what the KRS says, that you cannot appoint more than 3 members to the cemetery board out of one, party. Yeah. Yeah, so evidently even death has become political. Yeah, yeah.
I don't hope so.
So with all of that being said, and all of the members here,
I think you do one motion and just say, appoint the following people, cemetery board, X and Y for 5-year terms and Z.
yeah.
A.
And I guess I need to name them by name, but anyway, my recommendation is that we appoint Lou Ann Ferguson, Phil Lockhart, Lynn Barnes, Lisa Devers to the cemetery board, with Lou Ann and Lisa serving 5-year terms, and Phil and Lynn serving 4-year terms. So I need a motion and a second to appoint those board members to the cemetery. Got a motion, I had all kind of motions, everybody's making a motion. Marty made a motion, Nate seconded, Scott thirded. Yeah, so all in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? No, motion carries. Okay, Lou Ann and Lisa are 5-year terms, they'll serve through 2025. Phil and Lynn, 4-year terms through 2024. The motion was Marty and Nate. All right. Now, we did have a vacant tourism commission, spot, vacated by Kevin Campbell. His term actually expired. He would be willing to serve until we found someone. And obviously, they've not really had any meetings. I mean, you'd know more about what meetings they've had, not really had any. But we're recommending to, appoint Laney Snyder for a 3-year term, that expire March 17th of 2023. Motion by Myron, second by Myron. Any other discussion or question? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, on to financial business, budget transfers. If you had an opportunity to review those, we just need a motion and a second to approve the budget transfers. Motion by Nate,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is to review a cash transfer of $425,000 from the general fund to the jail of $425,000. But gentlemen, on this one, bear in mind, this is bond payment time. So, and that bond payment is, roughly $400,000.
Good news is it's about the sewer.
Yeah, see, we're getting close to the end of it. Yeah, yeah.
So moved.
Motion by Myron, second by Scott. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review the bills and claims, we just need a motion and a second to approve those.
Motion. Nate.
Motion by Nate,
Second.
second by Myron. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, on to reports.
We got, one more. Next one, at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's one of the-
$14 man.
Well, no, on my sheet. Oh, I had that under my reports. Yeah. Yeah. I got it under the reports on mine, so we'll go to that. The grant draw for XYZ, was $738,000. All right, of course, they already got $30,000 that pulls from that Brad gets for overseeing it. So there's 762, and that's limiting them to the 850,000 capability. We've noted they've only got 82,000 remaining they can draw on that grant.
So they've already drawn the $738,000.
They've put in a request for that draw. Yeah. So do we have to have a motion to approve anything with this?
She said no, but I just wanted you all to be aware of it, and it's up to you, how you want to proceed. I mean, she said other counties are doing it, and because that's their normal procedure, and it's fine, but, but for the grant purposes, no, it's not have this program.
Counselor?
And for any for town, I think probably what we want is everything else is want to screw or not, I mean, you've already gone along the agreement.
Didn't show record what the money was going to, they do still show,
Yeah.
I mean, her record is showing.
It's better, you've already agreement, you might as well approve it.
All right, so we need a motion and a second for the grant, approval for this grant draw on the XYZ CBDG grant. Motion by Nate, second by Marty. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
All right. Motion carries, 4-1. Is that how I should report that, Sam?
Yes,
Okay.
that's how it happens, yes.
Okay. All right. Now, on to my report is surplus auction. We need to talk about, and Bobby, I don't know if you wanted to talk about this under your report or if you want to come in now, but we've got some items that we need to get on the surplus auction. I think I sent an email to the sheriff and to the jailer. If we need to try to get a list of all of these surplus auction items, and we're wanting to, when are you thinking that we would like to try to do that auction?
I would say sometime in October.
So we need really by the end of this month to have a list of everything that's,
Whoever does your auction, they need at least a month to 4 weeks to prepare.
so I guess, and with that, we would have to submit like a bid notice to bid a surplus auction.
I don't know, it's gonna be over $30,000.
Do what?
I think in the past,
Because you're right, I mean, number one, it's professional service, which doesn't have to be bid, and the commission won't be over $30,000.
I think in the past, we've got two or three just say, what will be your commission? It wouldn't really, it's not really a bid in one sense, maybe it is in another, but, we just have to let there's more than one local auction service, so we could let, a couple of them, but we've used different ones in the past.
So we don't necessarily need a motion or anything to authorize the surplus auction.
I don't think we have in the past, I think all we had to do is make a property, we have to surplus.
So Sheriff, Jailer, if y'all got items that need to be added to the list, let's get them together as soon as we can, so we can compile a list and figure out who's interested in doing the auction.
The last one we had was right around here, just.
Yes, sir.
To make it a little more complicated, sir. We're gonna have an auction, it'll be separate than the county. We have items that come through the courts that are awarded to us and the drug task force can have. We hadn't set a date. A lot of our date is waiting for court orders that we've requested to get items that go to sale. They're not the county's items.
Not county property, I get it.
I can look at but we have very little county items that have any value whatsoever that would go. But I'll look for that to put in this auction. But I didn't want y'all to hear we have an auction down the road and go, Jerry's not cooperating with it. It has to be done separately because it goes to different places.
Right.
Thanks to separate trust on.
Right. Well, it would be kind of illegal for the county to auction off property that was not county property anyway.
But could we work together to do it? Just like have this surplus auction, like 10 and have your auction. I mean, do we work together?
We can draw more people.
The problem with it is I'm not just able to say, let's go sell this stuff. I don't know when we'll get court orders. So as soon as we set a date, I may or may not be able to meet that date. That's my problem. Once I know we're good to go, I can say, I don't mind calling Bobby and saying, hey, you're right, it would be nice to have it. I wanted to have it in August. It ain't happening in August, I can tell you that. So we're looking.
I was just thinking it might be a better route if you could do it.
I don't mind keeping Bobby and the judge in the loop. I'm fine with it being all in one day, but.
If it works out where we can coordinate.
Yeah, it's one of those things, don't gear your plans around me because this is one I can't tell you for sure when I'm gonna be able to do anything. There, other than, if I find some county items, there may be something over to get rid of, but that it can be in there for sure.
Okay. So we're planning a surplus auction probably, early, mid-October, probably? Something like that? All right. Real quick, guys, of course, the last couple of meetings, they've been up here talking with us about Enterprise. I sent you home with a bunch of information. I just want to kind of gauge where y'all may be on that. I'm at 50-50.
Personally, I've looked at it. I don't see that there's a big savings in the vehicles that we find. And then even Nate asked us the last one, we still gotta do tires and correct and general maintenance. Then we're going to pay interest on that money, whereas if we buy the vehicle, we don't. And then we're going to pay a monthly monitoring fee. I don't see it saving a whole lot of money for the county, because I like to do the sheriff's idea of buying the truck and keeping it a couple, 2 or 3 years and selling it. And maybe we could we're getting more in that routine, which is basically all enterprises.
Right, and I think if we can get on our own fleet rotation, I think we're gonna be better off.
Right, and I just listening. I just don't see it saving a lot.
We need to see how that's gonna work anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like.
All right, good, we can put that one to bed. Good news, the case that Drakes Creek Holding had against the Franklin Simpson Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustments has been dropped. No longer an issue, no longer on the books. Couple other things real quick. A few weeks ago, or maybe back in budget time, I don't know, I gave you guys a copy of pay rate structure. Talked to the sheriff and the jailer about getting that to the county clerk. I want to try to push y'all to get something together. I would like to be able to put some more information in front of you guys at our next meeting. And by September, let's start moving forward with that, because I think if we can put something together, it takes out a lot of question about who gets what, when, where, and why. And so, you know, I gave you guys my thoughts on people that are directly under, my guidance and direction. So if y'all have any thoughts or input on that, I'd like to hear some feedback on it. But, gentlemen, if y'all could, and I'll let the clerk know too, I'd really like to try to get this together, so we can kind of look at it and put something together going forward. And then finally, the, report from the Barren River District as far as the COVID-19 virus. The numbers that were put out yesterday afternoon by the district put Simpson County at a total confirmed count of 142. Total recovered of that amount, 113, with 7 deaths here in Simpson County. So as far as the Barren River numbers go, as of yesterday afternoon, our current active count in Simpson County was at 22 people currently active with the virus according to the district's count. That's all I've got. Martin?
I was just gonna say, comment compliment the public works department for the road mowing, and it looks good when they've done it. I wish the state would, do you have any idea when the state might do any mowing or anything? Cause I take people asking, go see the road in Blackjack, both of us smack the Johnson grass and smack the side of the corner. And I've had a lot of people, I've had probably 10 or 12 people ask me, if the school's gonna start back, what are you all gonna do about our school taxes? And I told them, we don't do anything about school taxes. And talk to the school board members, if, you know, I don't know what the school's gonna do. I have no idea. There's people that are asking me what we're gonna do about their school taxes, and I don't, you know, we don't have anything to do with that. So you all may start getting some of those questions too. I don't know if you have, but
Well, I've had people ask me, why is school starting back, and I just let them know that I have no decision in whether school starts or doesn't start, or when it starts and doesn't start.
yeah,
So, and I don't want any of that responsibility.
but other than that,
Hey, nothing. Scott?
No, sir.
Byron?
Yeah, just a couple of things. And I'd like to recognize Dan Ware. He is officially retiring today, the Director of Tourism.
I've heard that before.
But it's happening today. And A.B. Ellis will be replacing Dan Ware.
Counselor? Sheriff?
No report, sir.
Jailer?
I just want to let everybody know that, how we work is actually right. We can look it up. And we have two positions on Freight Road through, they're going to take care of any hours that we started in, because work, and that's what it was. So the county road should be picked up, temporarily. We're just trying to invest in what we can do.
Thanks for that.
Bill, you have anything? Bob, do you have anything? Carter? Sheriff, is fire chief out there? Is anybody out there in the hall?
Chief's not here, sir.
All right, so no other reports. All I need is a motion to adjourn. Hey, Marty, all in favor, aye? Aye. Motion carries.